This video we want to look at the domain of polynomials. Recall that when we're talking about a domain, we're talking about typically talking about x values, real numbers that when we put them into a function, we get a real number out, right? One real number. So up on the board I have the most basic of polynomials. This is a constant function. No matter what real number we put in for x, we get one real number out. In this case, it happens to be the same number all the time. If I compute f of 1, I'm going to get 2. If I compute f of 0, I get 2. If I compute f of pi, I'm going to get 2. Right? The important thing is that no matter what real number we put in for x, we get one real number out. So the domain here is, of course, all real numbers. Let's look at another basic polynomial, one of the so-called power functions, right? A power function is just some real coefficient times x to a natural number exponent, like x to the first, x squared, x cubed, x to the fourth, and so on. Right? If we were to compute this function for any real number, right, it's just going to be 4 times x times x times x. So it's a finite product of real numbers. The real numbers are closed under multiplication, which means whenever you multiply a finite number of real numbers, you get one real number out. So no matter what real number I put in for x, I'm just multiplying a finite number of real numbers. I'm going to get a real number out. So the domain of any power function is all real numbers. Let's look at one more. Any polynomial in the world is just some addition or subtraction of these power functions, along with possibly a constant term. Right? Well, whatever real number we put in for x, we know that we're going to get a real number out of this term by what we just discussed with power functions. We are going to get a real number out of this term, and we are going to get a real number out of this term. So this polynomial will just be a finite sum or difference of real numbers. Right? And real numbers are also closed under addition and subtraction. When you add or subtract a finite number of them, you get one real number back. So the domain of this polynomial, and indeed any polynomial, is all real numbers.